If you're anything like me, you probably scare birds away before you can get photos of them. And I get plenty of birds in my backyard, but the second I go to take a photo, they've disappeared. So that's why I've been building this. I've been calling it a bird photo booth, but essentially all it is a stand with some seeds with a motion sensing camera attached to it. But before I get into that, here's what I'm going to cover in this video. I'm going to run the concept of this bird photo booth by you. I'm going to show you how to build it and tell you what materials I used, and then I'm going to tell you how much it cost to build and let you know where you might be able to save some money along the way. And I want you to stick around till the end because I've got some more videos like this to show you from the first 3 days of operation. So the idea behind this was pretty simple. I'll put a post in the ground, attach a branch or a resting place for the bird to sit, make the frame suitable to hold a motion detection camera, and then entice the bird to land with seeds or flowers. Later on down the track, I realized I probably needed a rain cover. And this is doing 3 things. 1, it's keeping the bird dry if they land there while it's raining. 2, it's keeping the seed dry so I don't have to constantly change it in wet weather. And whilst the camera should be waterproof, it's keeping rain off the lens so we get a clear field of vision every time. Let me show you how I built it. I used these 70mm by 35mm pine shorts, which are about 90 centimeters long, and I start off by joining them with these nail plates. This is a lot cheaper than buying a post, since they're about $3.50 a piece. And this was the only timber I used throughout this whole project. It's non-structural, so I did paint it later just to make sure it was all weather resistant. The top of our frame is made out of the same thing, and I just used 4 timber screws to keep it joined to the post. So this turned into a bit of a cantilever type shape. So using the same material, I just cut the ends on a 45-degree angle and attached it to the long side just to make sure that it wasn't going to sag. And here was my first test to see how the ring camera would actually look on the frame. Next I put the screw stirrup into the ground, and this was pretty simple. I just used a metal rod, pushed it through the stirrup and applied a little bit of downward force to get it into the ground and spun it till it refused to spin anymore. Once that stirrup was in the ground, all that pre-drilling and lining up of the bolt holes meant that was a pretty simple process to get the frame upright. And because we had a little bit of a gap here, I just used an offcut of wood as a bit of a packer plate to keep it all tight. And here's a look at it. This is before I had painted it or added any rain shelter. Pretty simple, and I think you could get to this point yourself pretty easily. And this was the moment I realized we needed a rain shelter. It started to absolutely piss down, and it was just lucky I had painted the frame already. I showed you the rough design of how this works. It's pretty simple, and you could probably come up with a better design yourself. Just a square frame with some brackets in between to keep it all straight, and the same timber angled on the roof with a 90 by 60 centimeter plywood roof screwed onto the top of it. And because it's really annoying to change ring batteries, I installed the solar panel because this pretty much gets sun all day. So we should never have to charge the battery on this. And here's the ring camera. It's a 2K outdoor ring camera, so it can be exposed to the elements, it can get water on it, all of that sort of stuff. 2K quality is about the best you can get in a battery camera. And as you'll see later, I think it's more than enough. The colors are a lot better than other outdoor cameras, so particularly for birds, it makes sense to use a camera like this. But if you can find something cheaper and it does the same job, go ahead and give that a go. And this is just a metal seed bowl I picked up from a pet store, and I just screwed it down. Next I added a perch, and I wasn't sure if this was going to work, but as you'll see later, the birds seemed to love it. All it was a circular piece of pine with a dowel drilled out, and then I just super glued it into place. It doesn't have to be structural, these birds are not very heavy. And this was the first test on the ring camera. That was it, the structure's done, this is what it looks like. So now let's get into exactly what materials I used and how much it ended up costing. So materials and cost. I just used pine offcuts for the timber. These are all 70 by 35mm by about 90 centimeters long. I used 8 of these and they cost about $3.50 each. So the total for timber was about $28. I used a screw stirrup to put this in the ground. And looking at the prices now, they're about $46 each. I don't think I paid that price when I bought it 4 years ago, so shop around. But a screw stirrup is always good if you want to relocate your structure or if you're renting and you can't leave anything permanent. But if you're not planning on moving it and you want something cheap, you can cut down on cost here by buying a $10 bag of concrete. I allowed about $10 for the bolts. I allowed about $10 for screws as well. I used timber screws like this and I used button head screws for the roof. Speaking of the roof, the 900 by 600 plywood sheet ran me back about $20. The nail brackets that I used on the post were about 60 cents each for about $4 in total. I used about 3 different types of brackets and that came to in total about $6. I didn't use a whole length of dowel, but that probably cost about $5. Seed bowl that you would pick up from a pet store, about $5. And depending on the timing on what camera you buy, and if you buy a ring camera, I paid about $84 for this 2K ring camera. And I picked up this solar panel from Amazon for about $25. I have to say, I had a lot of this stuff hanging around already, so I didn't feel like this project set me back a whole lot. But totaling every item, that comes to about $240. But keep in mind, without the ring camera, without the solar panel, that's about $134. And if we went the absolute cheapest route, excluding a solar panel, excluding a screw pile, you're probably looking at about $170. And if you already have a camera hanging around and you're happy to concrete your post in, you might be looking at as little as $87. And if you scale down the structure even further, I'm sure you could get that lower. But that's what you can expect to pay for a bird photo booth like this. And if you don't have any paint hanging around, or you want to paint it a particular color, you should factor in probably about $10 for a small pot of paint. And so there you have it. That was the concept, how I built it, and then how much it cost to build. And as promised, here's a couple of videos from the first few days of operation. So far, that Eastern Rosella is returning daily. We've had a peewee pop in twice, and that's it so far. There's plenty of other birds that I hope to catch on film with this, and I'm definitely going to make an update to this video to let you know what other birds showed up and how it's holding up into the future. And I just wanted to show you this last video. Rainy day, the Rosella showed up, and he was pretty happy to sit here under the rain shelter out of the weather. If you enjoyed this video and you want to see more like it, subscribe. Otherwise, I'll catch you in the next one.